What's up everyone, John from Beyond ARTV. It's time for another episode of my weekly countdown series 7 on Sunday. Today we are going to be talking about 7 unexpected hit songs that you might have just forgotten about because they either didn't have other songs that really charted, at least not in the mainstream, or maybe they just faded out of your mind with time, because I wouldn't blame you for that. There's so much music in the world. I took it upon myself to find 7 songs that faded like fog out a glass mirror over time, quickly dissipating from the mainstream's attention, but probably deserving maybe a little bit of a glance back at least. If not, maybe you'll add it to your rotation or something like that. There were actually a surprising amount of choices that I considered for this list, so don't think that I ran out at 7. There were many that I could have gone with, so if you would like to see a part 2 in the future, or just simply want to comment some others that you would add to the list, then drop a comment down below. Please be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoy this episode, leave comments with future suggestions for episode themes and that sort of thing, and other than that, here is the very first unexpected hit.
I'd send the pain below. I'd send the pain below, much like suffocating, much like suffocating.
As I judge these unexpected hits today, I want to make it known that I am basing this on Hot 100 crossover potential and the successes they all saw, as all 7 of these crossed over to the Hot 100, but also had success obviously on other charts. We'll just focus on the Hot 100 though, mainly. Chevelle is the name of the first band on this list, and this charting song is from 2002. This crossed over to the mainstream for a very young rock band on their debut album, and their first single, The Red, was actually more successful in terms of ranking a few spots higher, but I picked this one, Send the Pain Below, which charted at number 65 on the Hot 100 because it had longevity, it had staying power, and I heard people talking about this for years to come. I didn't even really get into music, at least my own music, until 2005, and people were still buzzing about this. And if you were a fan of rock music in the 2000s, you knew about the band Chevelle, and I would say deservedly so. They're some of the most talented guys that actually get airplay on rock stations, and I can't wait to hear more material from them as they continue to really just hone their sound, but also stay true to themselves as they age. Now, this track in particular, Send the Pain Below, is a great choice because it talks about kind of the pain experienced in a relationship and somebody kind of on the receiving end of that pain. And here we have a slow building rock scorcher that crossed over, and it not only charted at number 1 on the mainstream charts and obviously the alternative and modern rock charts, but also the Hot 100 all the way at number 65.
Don't tell me if I'm dying, 'cause I don't wanna know. If I can't see the sun, maybe I should go. Don't wake me 'cause I'm dreaming of angels on the moon, where everyone you know never leaves too soon.
At number 6, we have the band Thriving Ivory and their hit song Angels on the Moon. This track was originally recorded for their debut album in 2002, but it wasn't until 6 years later that we actually saw the proper release of this song and it coming to light on a major label. This is something that I say is an unexpected hit, because who would have guessed that this band would just kind of come out of nowhere, not having a hit before, and then just landing on the Hot 100. Sure, it definitely happens, but in this age, especially before YouTube and other streaming factors really became a thing, this was 2008, and a band didn't really have any way to get exposure other than putting themselves maybe on MySpace or using their stuff or licensing it to commercials, and I do think that things like that did help them, and this track actually propelled its way to number 75 on the Billboard Hot 100. This is a sweet song that definitely might feel a little bit cheesy, but it's worth revisiting and coming back to because its sentiments seem to be genuine. And some would probably think, well, it was written 6 years before it was even released. Is it any good, or does it feel totally out of touch? No, because the track does feel a bit more timeless in that way. I'm not calling it a classic by any definition of the word, but it is pretty good.
I'm only getting started. I won't black out. It's time I'm kind of thing. Let's go a little harder. I won't black out. I'm on my way. I'm only getting started.
Number 5, Blackout by Breathe Carolina. Back when they were just a duo, this band got their start just releasing music on MySpace. You might remember some of their early singles like The Birds and the Bees and Diamonds, and Kyle Even, the screamer in the band, and David Smith, the clean vocalist, actually began to dominate with their hit song in 2011. This was off their album Hell Is What You Make It, and while I was a pretty big fan of the band at that time, can't say that I am now, especially since Kyle departed from the band, this was just an odd time in music where we were seeing a few random crossovers like this, and this actually peaked at number 32 on the Billboard Hot 100. The single was certified platinum and was kind of a catchy banger. It had some auto-tune obviously on David's voice, and you really didn't get much from Kyle on this track, but the production was slick, and while it does feel dated in a way, it's kind of worth just going back to. Maybe throw it on at your next party in a throwback playlist. Number 4, Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine. I can't give enough praise to this band. I am a big fan at this point, and I love Florence Welch's voice. It's something that's very reassuring to me in a way, and I remember the first time that I heard this track. This was my very first Florence and the Machine song, as it was for many people I'm sure, but it didn't really take over until 2010, especially in the United States. It was actually originally released as a single in the UK, their home country, in 2008, but it didn't see a ton of success there until 2010 or late 2009. It charted in the 80s and 90s in 2008, and then finally worked its way up into the top 20 at that point in 2009. Then it crossed over in the United States after being performed at the MTV Movie Awards, or else the Music Video Awards. All of those kind of run together in my mind, but they performed it on MTV, and it was surprisingly a huge success. The track spiked over 250% in sales after that performance, driving the downloads for the week to over 90,000, forcing it to land at number 21 on the Billboard Hot 100. It had previously charted in the low 90s and then finally shot all the way up after that iconic performance. This is a band that definitely deserves more hits, and it's a shame that they don't get them, and I don't think that they're by any means forgotten, but still, this is a track that really started their career. It's something that gained them so many fans, and it deserves a second look.
Look what you've done, you've made a fool of everyone.
Next up at number 3, we have a song from the rock band Jet, which have actually disbanded at this point. It was called Look What You've Done. I almost said Look What You Made Me Do. No, we're not looking at Taylor Swift just yet. Look What You've Done is a sincere piano ballad that was released as a single in 2004 in the UK and in the US in 2005. It actually crossed over to the Hot 100, surprisingly becoming a top 40 hit, charting at number 37 there. It got a music video that actually caught my attention, and that's what initially drew me to the song, seeing that on VH1 one morning before school, and then actually hearing it on the radio later that same day. It was destiny, and I wanted to hear more. I checked out more of their stuff, and while I can't say that I'm really a big fan of this band, this is actually a genuinely sweet song that has a lot of heart to it. It can definitely stir up some emotions with that slow drumming that might remind you of the Beatles and other 70s and 60s inspired rock bands, and then obviously it has that well-layered piano that matches the voice on point.
Kiss me beneath the milky twilight, lead me out on the moonlit floor. Lift your open hand, strike up the band and make the fireflies dance, silver moon sparkling.
Number 2 might be a surprising name for you. Sixpence None the Richer was the name of the band, but back in those days, you really couldn't go without hearing about them. In the late 90s and the early 2000s, their music was unavoidable, inescapable if you will, and this track that we're talking about today is called Kiss Me. They had other hit songs, especially on the adult contemporary charts, and even the Christian contemporary charts as well, but this one that we're talking about today saw massive Hot 100 success, and this band absolutely did deserve it. I love their vocalist, she has such a sweet voice, and this one rose all the way to number 2 on the Hot 100. It's a shame that it didn't hit the pinnacle spot of number 1 because it came all that way, but it did linger on the charts for quite a while, seeing use in various soundtracks, commercials, etc., etc. While personally in terms terms of Sixpence None the Richer's hits, I prefer Breathe Your Name. This track still holds a lot of merit, and it does have so much value to it and replay factor to this day. This is something that I highly recommend you check out because it has these sweet, gentle acoustic guitars, and it was very different than what was playing on a lot of radio stations at the time. But this one rose up the charts, and it made its impact. It's just a shame that they kind of fell off in the years that followed. Oh, come with me now, all the way up to number 1. It's Kongos, a band that deserves a lot of attention. It's a band of brothers, and they have their hit song, obviously, called Come With Me Now. This was released as a single in 2011, but believe it or not, it took years of just pining away, playing this song, developing and cultivating a fan base, and finally having their breakthrough moment. The accordions on this track are simply so much fun, a stomp-along drum rhythm, and just the vocals. Obviously, you want to be engaged with this song. In fact, I think it makes a great drinking or night out on the time anthem. This track is so fierce, and I'm really surprised that it crossed over. That's why I'm putting it all the way at number 1. And unfortunately, they haven't had any other hits, but this one did land all the way at number 31 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 2014. Years after its initial release, it really started gaining so much buzz, and I'm glad that I was a part of that. I really got to witness something special there. While Kongos did see some chart success with their recent album Lunatic, I really just didn't see a ton of people buzzing about it, even though it was a good album, and I didn't see really any singles making any waves on the charts or anything like that, so who knows if they'll hit the Hot 100 again. If not, consider it not just a fluke, but really something that just managed to make its way through the system in a way. True talent will hopefully win out in the end, and maybe we'll hear more from these guys in the mainstream, but if not, be sure to go check them out and make sure you're a fan. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of 7 on Sunday, themed around 7 unexpected hit songs that you might have forgotten about. Let me know any others that you would like to add to this list in the comment section down below, and please drop a like on the video while you're here. Other than that, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on future uploads, and donate on Patreon if you're able to. It helps videos like this keep coming on a monthly basis. You can go directly to my Patreon page by tapping the annotation over in the corner of your screen. If you would like to see last week's episode of SOS, then tap this card right over here, or see another recent video I made on Beyond ARTV right over here. If you would like to find me on social media, click any of these links in the description down below, and I'll see you very soon for more right here on Beyond ARTV.